Making change in life often involves change, obviously. Specifically, though, being able to dial in on two broad categories. One is omission, and one is addition. So there's lots of different ways to say that. You could say addition, subtraction, omission, commission kind of thing. I use those two terms. Things we're going to omit or subtract, and things that we're going to add, maybe improve. But I think a lot of times people have a tendency to default one direction or the other when it comes to change. So some people, they think I need to make changes, so I need to go do a lot of things. And other people think I need to make change, therefore I need to stop doing a lot of things. And there's often a balance of both. And I think being able to identify what change you're actually going for. We'll use sleep for this example. If I want to improve my sleep, well, the more we can define what that looks like, the more clear we'll be able to know what needs to be added or taken away. So someone comes into my space and says, hey, I need to improve my sleep. I want to sleep better. Great. What does that look like for you? Now, a lot of the times you'll get I don't know. I just know I don't sleep well. Do you have trouble getting to sleep? Staying asleep? Do you wake up too early? Do you wake up throughout the night? What does it look like? What does that mean? And when we start to get a little bit more info. And so for a lot of people, it does come down to changing habits around sleep. Some people have legitimate sleep issues where that's just not their thing and they really struggle with it. And other times it's because of habits they've built around sleep. So an example of both sides of this, a habit of addition, would be maybe you need to add a couple things into your evening routine. So, we see with research that a cold space helps. All right. How cold is your room, maybe? Do you need an eye mask? Do we need to add that? Do you have any type of shift work where it's light outside or there's street lights coming in? Do we need to add blackout curtains or just darker curtains? Again, sleep mask, noise machine, do we need to add that? So we're looking at what potentially needs to be added. And we look then at subtraction. What needs to be taken away? Maybe you spend a lot of time on your phone before bed. Well, we can probably subtract that. Maybe you're eating a lot of ice cream before bed. Okay, well, some people will talk about maybe having glucose spike or eating certain foods like chocolate has been linked to nightmares, and so maybe you're causing problems that way. Too many sweets at night. So we're going to remove that, or just late night eating in general. Maybe you just feel your stomach heavy and it keeps you up. So we look at everything that can be taken away and everything that could be added. And this is true also when we look at people who just feel busy all the time. And that one might seem a little bit more obvious, like, well, let's take things away. But the temptation, and I'm this type of person, is I remove something and then I want to immediately add something back in. And what's happening is the habit is how full our life is. So we're tempted to just throw something else back in. And this is really important, is as we subtract and add, the temptation can be to balance that back out. So if you're subtracting, let's say you have 10 things that you're doing and your life feels too full, you pull one away. You're like, whew, and then now you're like, let me fill it with this. I like this thing more. It doesn't matter what you like, we're trying to get you less busy. So taking away something you don't like, even if you add something you do like, it probably feels a little bit better, but you're not solving the actual problem, which is time and time management. And same if you just feel a need to put more into your life. Maybe you don't feel like you're doing enough, so you add this, I'm going to go do this thing once a week. And when you do that, now you take away this other habit you were doing. It's like, no. We're trying to improve your life through added relationships or hobbies. And so that's why it might sound obvious. It's like, hey, if you're taking something away, why would you add something? Well, because we move towards equilibrium. Once we've found familiarity with something consistent, we want to keep it consistent. Because it takes effort to change, not just to initially change, but then to maintain that adjustment. And so the temptation there is to just fill it in some way. And we think we're making a change because technically we are, but we're not changing the core issue of, in this case, in this example, time management or sleep. Maybe I subtract, I'm not eating late anymore. And great. So now I'm not taking up much time in the evening, eating a lot of things. But then maybe I just start scrolling on my phone because I'm bored, because it's like, okay, so what was happening then is it seems like you get bored in the evening and you eat, and we took the food away and you're still bored, so now you're doing a phone or a TV or a video game. Great. So now we actually know that the issue is boredom. So what we need to look at is how to make your mind comfortable heading into sleep. And so when we start to pay attention to what we're supplicating and replacing, and we get an idea of if this is an issue with something deeper down, a core issue, and not like necessarily deep personal, but it could have elements of that. So that's why it's really good to make simple changes and then just pay attention to them. Because if it's just a simple change and you just didn't know about it, and now you're given the info and you change easy, then it really probably was just a lack of information. Oh, I had no idea that eating late could do that. I had no idea that being on my phone did that. I had no idea that the light coming in. You might have felt uncomfortable with those things, but I didn't know that they affected my sleep that much. Now I know, I make the change. So we really start to get an idea of, is this a deeper issue when we now know of these changes and we make the changes and then we start replacing them with other things. That's usually a sign that we just found a way to cope with a symptom of a deeper issue. So the overeating before bed is symptomology from some issue either with boredom or maybe loneliness in the evening. And that's actually what needs to be focused on while still trying to build habits in order to move towards better sleep. So I guess this was more educational than reflective, but I think about that a lot because of my habit, ironically, to want to add things when I take away. I have an issue adding too much to my life and wanting to do too much. And so in moments where I learn I need to pull away, I have to be really mindful and really intentional about not just adding another thing to the to-do list. Now, I'm willing to give myself some space when what I add is something that I actually want to be doing. We talked before, like if I'm wasting time here and I take that away and then I fill it with something I enjoy, there's arguments for that being okay at times. The issue is if you feel too full in life, which is not the same as I'm not getting everything done I want. Those are two different feelings. So sometimes if you're not overly worked or overly busy, but you're not accomplishing what you want, then it does make sense to remove and replace with stuff that needs accomplished. The issue is when you're feeling completely overwhelmed in terms of the amount of time you have and being too busy, then you have to be more creative with not just immediately throwing new things on top of what you removed. So yeah, that's the thought there. I'll keep this short today. As always, these come out every Monday. If you enjoy it all, or if you're having fun in any way, subscribe. They come out every Monday. It's my most consistent video I do, and I absolutely love it. So more to come, and I will see you all next Monday.